The legislature responded and they enacted this provision, which makes clear that the public body may respond to comments that are initiated by a member of the public during a properly open notice forum. Two key things here. One, your agenda has to indicate that there's going to be an open forum or public comment or something to that extent. So that's one of the important things here. The other is that it has to be initiated. The comment has to be initiated by the public. The case cited here involving the Hopkinton Town Council, I think it may have been a case we talked about last year, but it really demonstrates this principle. This was a case where there was an open forum on the agenda. The public had the opportunity to talk during the open forum. The town council responded appropriately under this provision. But when that was all over, the members of the public body themselves, the members of the town council, took the opportunity to also talk about items that they wanted to talk about. That violated the Open Meeting Act because this only applies to comments initiated by members of the public. School committees, as I said, it's slightly different, but really not too much. 2, 3, and 4 are really the same requirements. The comment has to be made by a member of the public during the public comment session and for informational purposes only. They can't take a vote. Where this differs a little bit between all other public bodies and school committees is that with school committees, the request has to be put in writing. And the last slide I'm going to talk about today is the emergency meeting provision. It's on page 27 at the top of the bound book. And I've alluded to this off and on that no vote will be taken except for an emergency. We had a case this year involving the Coventry Town Council where they convened a meeting and took a vote under the auspices of this being a quote-unquote emergency meeting. We've talked about in the past how this provision is very, very, very limited. There's probably been only 3 or 4 or 5 cases going back probably to the 1980s where our department has found a meeting to be an emergency meeting. And those have been very extreme situations. One that comes to mind is where a roof was about to collapse on a school and the school committee had to convene. So those are extremely rare and limited circumstances. The Coventry Town Council case, I'll tell you that we ended up finding a violation in that case, and I'll give you the facts. The Coventry Town Council convened in that case to approve a resolution. There was a bill pending before the General Assembly, so they convened an emergency meeting on August 25th because they wanted to have their disapproval known, pass a resolution disapproving of what was pending before the General Assembly. They convened an emergency meeting because they felt it was important to protect their fiscal interest and to make sure that their votes were known and their positions were known. Now, putting aside for a second that that's obviously an important issue, the issue that we have in the emergency meeting is that it's to address an unexpected occurrence that requires immediate action by the public body in order to protect the public. We define that as something that has to happen within 48 hours in order to protect the public interest. If the emergency can wait more than 48 hours, it's not an emergency by definition. In this case, the town council convened on August 25th. On August 25th, the legislature wasn't in session. There was some talk about them going back into session to override vetoes and that nature, but they weren't in session yet. To make it even less of an emergency to us, the bill that they were going to express an opinion on was introduced into the Senate in February. It was passed by the Senate in June, and it was placed on the House calendar on June 25th. So from June 25th till August 25th, when the town council convened an emergency meeting, there was no action on the bill. Somehow on August 25th, it became an emergency that something had to happen within 48 hours. Given that timeline, I think the facts kind of speak for itself. The interest was certainly important, but something didn't have to happen within 48 hours in order to protect the public interest. So if it was an emergency, it could have happened during the prior 60 days. So that really takes us to the Open Meetings Act and Public Records Act. We're going to take about a 15-minute break. I think we'll end up convening, before people leave, let me make a couple points. We have a panel discussion up next. I'd like to see the people who are on the panel discussion just briefly.